Welcome to In the Money. I'm your host, Daniel Dent. Each show, we're discussing personal financial topics to help you make better informed financial decisions, and we have a great show for you today. Currently, the stock markets are near all-time highs. How should you react? Should you react? Bobby Bird with Vishria Associates is here to answer that question. We'll also discuss trust, and is it something you should consider? Lisa Cook with First Tennessee will be in the hot seat. And finally, we have Sherita Goodman joining us with Operation Hope. She'll tell us about this national nonprofit that's new to the Mid-South and how it impacts our community. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss what's coming up.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Thank you for joining us. Right now we have Bobby Bird with Vishria Associates. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great, thanks for joining us. Bobby, I'll start with the question that you and I probably get the most, and that's with the markets being near all-time highs, is it time to buy, sell, or hold? And how do we answer that?
Well, you always want to keep, market valuations in mind when you're investing, but as we talked off camera some, if you have a properly diversified portfolio, you should have investments in various parts of the market, different types of investments. So some will be in those areas that have performed well, like you mentioned, the U.S. market being at all-time highs. But along with proper diversification, you want a disciplined rebalancing strategy. And that forces you to sell the areas that have performed well, to rebalance to the areas that may have underperformed, bring you back to your desired allocation model.
Okay, great. You mentioned diversification. What does that look like in practice?
Well, diversification is the idea of not putting all your eggs in one basket. So you want to have money in stocks, bonds, real estate, other types of investments. Kind of one way to think about that is if you own a company that sells snow blowers, if you have a strong winter, you sell a lot of snow blowers. If you have a mild winter, you may not sell as many. So in order to diversify your business, you may also want to sell lawnmowers. That way, if you have a long summer, you sell more lawnmowers, fewer snow blowers, and vice versa. That kind of helps stabilize your income.
Okay, great. I think the snowblower business is going well right now. Say that. With the large number of baby boomers retiring, should people approaching retirement, or even people who have already retired, will they have the same portfolio that? Should everyone have the same portfolio at that point?
Yeah, so you never really want to have a cookie cutter approach to what you do. You want to look at what your specific situation is. Some people retire earlier, some people retire later. People will have different sources of income. For example, some people have a traditional pension plan which provides a guaranteed monthly source of income in addition to their Social Security income, whereas others may only have Social Security income. So you want to take all those factors into account as you construct your portfolio, whether it's before retirement or in retirement.
Okay, great. One of the things you mentioned too is risk tolerance. And generally when we think about risk tolerance, we think about conservative or moderate or aggressive or moderately aggressive. How do we define that for ourselves and for our own portfolios?
For us, it always starts with financial plan, knowing where you are now and what you're trying to accomplish. So when we know when you need the money, what your other sources of income, like I mentioned, are, it helps to craft a portfolio based on your specific situation. One of the other elements to that is what we call the sleep factor. If the volatility that you're experiencing in the market, you see your portfolio going up and down in value, and that's keeping you up at night, then you probably need to relook at how much risk you're taking in the portfolio.
Okay, great. We've got different pools of money. You have 401ks, 403bs, other types of retirement plans, IRAs, Roth IRAs, non-qualified dollars that we invest. Should all of those portfolios look the same?
Well, once you put together your asset allocation, so you know how much money you should have in stocks and how much you should have in bonds, real estate, and all the different types of investments, Then you want to go to the next level and say, how can we make that more efficient from a tax management standpoint? So bonds, for example, pay interest income, and that's taxed at as ordinary income at your marginal tax rate, whereas stocks, if held for a year or more, can qualify for long-term capital gains tax rates, which are much lower than the ordinary income rates. So accounts like a 401k or an IRA, those are tax-deferred accounts. So any money in those, you don't pay tax on any earnings until you take the money out. So from that standpoint, then it makes sense to put more of your income-producing assets like bonds in the IRA accounts or 401k accounts, and have more of your equity stocks in the regular taxable or non-IRA accounts.
Okay. We've talked about a lot of different variables that come into play. Diversification, asset classes, risk tolerances. When you're thinking about putting together your portfolio, how do you bring all of those variables together to make sure that you're optimized?
Yeah, so again, you want to always take a look at what is the purpose of the money. So if you're funding for your child's education or your own retirement, you know when you're going to need that money. And then you look at what are all the other variables that we mentioned: tax situation, income sources, whether it's Social Security or pension incomes. You factor all those things in, along with that can I sleep at night factor, to help construct that portfolio.
Bobby, thanks for coming on today. Whether the market's up or down, proper asset allocation, diversification, and understanding your risk tolerance is the answer. Up next, is a trust something that is missing from your financial toolbox, and is it right for you? We'll be back after a short message.
Hello, I'm Germantown Mayor Mike Palazzolo. I want to let you know about something special you'll be seeing in your Germantown water bill this month. In cooperation with the Germantown Education Foundation, the City of Germantown is asking residents to fill the fountain of knowledge. Donations to the Germantown Education Foundation directly support academic programs in the Germantown Municipal School District. To donate, please fill out the form, return it with your water bill. You can make a one-time donation or monthly contribution. For more information, visit www.germantowneducationfoundation.org, and thank you for supporting Germantown.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund reading.
No.
Let me try. Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What?
I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to In the Money. Trust can be complex financial instruments. Here to help us simplify it is Lisa Cook with First Tennessee Advisory Services. Lisa, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself and a little bit about First Tennessee.
Thank you, first, for being here. Gee, I'm a native Memphian. I've been with First Tennessee Bank now going on 18 years and the financial industry for 29 years. And it's been a lot of fun, and what I do is primarily work with individuals, families, business owners, or nonprofits, and helping them a process as far as gathering their wealth and then making a transition process down the road. So it's a lot of fun. And First Tennessee, we've been doing it at 150 years.
Wow.
I haven't been. And we've had trust powers and trust services for 80. So we've got a lot of experience with regard to different matters.
That's a lot of experience. Great. Well, we hear a lot about trust, and it's one of those terms that I think people talk about a lot. But in simple terms, what is a trust and what does it do for us?
Glad you asked me that question. Trusts are, I think, probably one of the most misunderstood or confused items. I like to joke and say they're like 31 flavors of ice cream. You've got all different types of flavors of trust that can do different things, but the basic one that most people are interested in is called a revocable trust. And a trust is nothing more than an instrument or a legal document that you create, and I always advise my clients, banks don't draft legal documents, but it's always important to seek out an estate planning attorney to do that. And they specialize. Attorneys are similar to doctors, and they have different fields of expertise, so I always advise that. So you have a legal document, and there are roughly three parties to a trust. All right, you have the grantor, of the trust, who is the individual who creates the trust. That's typically you or me or the parent. Then you have the second party is the trustee, and the trustee can be the grantor who creates it, and the trustee's role is really to oversee the trust and management of the trust. And in many cases, that's one and the same individual. Sometimes they'll seek a corporate like First Tennessee, but in many cases, that's what you have. The third party is the beneficiary of the trust. So that's the individual that is the recipient of the balance of the proceeds and the income. And typically what you have within a trust document is it will govern how your assets are managed, and it really kind of almost would take the place of a will, if you will, or a living trust. And so it's a simple way to marshal your assets, have them, I always like to compare it of having it in a bucket, if you will. So you've got your assets that you've placed in there as the grantor and the trustee that you're managing those assets, and then they're utilized for you and your spouse, or can be your children during your lifetime. You're in total control of the assets, and then when you're no longer here, those assets then would transfer to the beneficiary, which could be children, or you may have nonprofits or different interests that you want those assets to transfer. And so it's a document that allows you to, probably one of the best things that you'll see as far as a trust document is dealing with the issues of, if I'm unable to manage my own assets and serve as that trustee, then how will my assets be managed? Who will be paying the bills? Who will be making those investment decisions? Who will be handling the taxes? Because I'm doing that as the trustee right now. So it provides a legal way, if you become infirmed or disabled, for you to be able to transition trustees. Typically you have husband and wife, but then you may have a child that can step in the event that they're not able to serve, or it could be a corporate institution like a bank, like First Tennessee Bank, that provides for checks and balances in the event that you cannot do that anymore. And then it's a tax efficient way, typically, and I'll touch base on that, to transfer assets as well as to avoid probate. A lot of clients are, I think a lot of people hear about probate and it can be a bad thing, but really probate is not a bad thing. But it's something, if you use a trust and you title your assets appropriately, then it's going to provide you with ease of management, tax efficiency according to planning and how you do that, and then ease of management and incapacity, and then a simple transfer of your wealth to whomever the beneficiaries are in a private manner. When you go through probate, it is public, it's through the courts, but this is a way to keep things private.
Okay, great. So it sounds like a good way to really manage your assets if you're incapacitated or even at your death.
And I've been doing this for a long time and obviously see lots of different examples of things, but I think one of the great things that you see with a trust is it helps, what I saw can prevent elder abuse. It provides for a legal process for management of assets, and many times we have wonderful family members that we want to leave assets to, but sometimes my clients will say, gee, I'm not sure if I'm on the same page as my child on how to manage assets. If something happens, I'm not sure that it'll be used. Or if you have blended families, for example, many clients have children from different marriages and they have a child, and so it can really provide a process to keep peace in the family and provide peace of mind. So it can be a very good tool to be used.
That's a really great point. So it helps prevent a lot of the infighting that we sometimes see over assets.
It does.
Let me ask you this question. This is I think has a lot of benefit to our viewers. Tennessee trust laws changed in 2007. Yes. What are the implications of that to Tennesseans?
I'm glad you asked that question. In 2007 and 2010, Tennessee trust laws made a lot of changes, and they really present some really great opportunities for client when it comes to two particular issues: asset protection. Tennessee Investment Services Trust, that's a kind of fancy word they came up with, but it really provides asset protection. I'll touch base on that. And the other one that probably most of my clients are asking about would be a community property trust that was passed in July of 2010. And I'll take the community property trust because I see that more often than the asset protection feature. The community property trust allows a husband and wife to be able to put their assets in a trust, a joint trust. It's community property. Tennessee's not a community property state. We're one of 2 states that allow this law, so it's very advantageous. And so it allows a married couple to simply manage their assets together. It used to be you would have to have a his and a hers trust for tax planning purposes, and the estate taxes were such that that warranted having separate trusts. Now, if people manage their assets together, obviously if they have a good marriage, if there's a concern of divorce or whatnot, you have to reconsider other options. But the real benefit of this, what we talked about, is ease of management, tax planning, but then the biggest one comes to how the assets are treated at death. And so traditionally, if you had separate trusts and someone passes away, the husband or the wife, then you get what's called a step-up in valuation of the asset. So in other words, if I bought my house at $100,000 and now it's worth $200,000, if the house was in my husband's name, at death, I get that step-up in value. But whatever is in my name has to remain in that value. So what this trust does is it allows you to manage your property together, and whatever's in there, whether it's your real estate, home, investments, stocks, bonds, and then at the first death, you get a step up in valuation of all the assets. And so I have clients that are older. Maybe their spouse has a large amount of stock that doesn't pay a dividend, or maybe they have a house that they purchased a long time ago and and they're at a point in their life they want to downsize, and but they don't want to sell this asset because they don't want to have to pay the capital gains tax. So the community property trust allows, we don't know who's going to pass away first, obviously, but sometimes you do, but that allows whoever passes away first, you can take a step up in valuation of all the assets in that trust. And then you have the ability to do more planning, and you're not going to pay the capital gains tax. And so it really gives the surviving spouse a lot of flexibility. And asset protection part, I'll jump in there, is also a very wonderful feature that we have for that. Now you're able to actually do planning. It used to be that you could not create your own trust for yourself with asset protection. Now, by the Tennessee Investment Services Trust, or TIST, an individual, sometimes we see medical doctors, physicians that are concerned with asset protection, can create this trust, put a portion of their assets in there. You have to be cognizant of, you cannot be in the middle of a litigation or something of that nature, so it has to be done prior to, but it's actually a way to put a fence around your assets that you can still have access to, that can help if concern of a lawsuit. But again, it has to be down the road. You can't be in a current situation. And the other thing about some of the protection that we can do is I'm seeing a lot more clients for their children when they are no longer living and they're leaving assets in trust, being able to provide asset protection that would protect them from divorce, creditors, and other things of that nature. So those are two great features, and I always tell a client, if they haven't looked at their trust document since 2003, when the tax laws changed and they have traditional planning that they've done, it's really critical to take a look and see how they can use the laws to their advantage.
Great, thanks Lisa. And I feel like we've really just hit the tip of the iceberg when it comes to trust, because I know there's just a lot more information out there. But thanks for coming on today. We appreciate you sharing all this information about trust. When we return, a national nonprofit, Operation Hope, focused on financial literacy, has come to help uplift the Mid-South. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation letter.
You're resigning?
Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
I forgot. I'll do better.
Please, don't quit on me. Okay, but remember, it's not what you say, it's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to In the Money. Our next guest is Sherita Goodman from Operation Hope. Sherita, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Great that you're here. I'm really excited about what you're going to share with us today. We've got a great number of very effective nonprofits, but tell us about Operation Hope and what makes it different. Tell us about the mission and the vision of Operation Hope.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Operation Hope actually was founded by John Hope Bryant back in 1992 after the riots that took place out in California. We basically have coined the mission as being civil rights empowerment. So we want to make free enterprise work for everybody. We want to make sure that those who may be underbanked, underserved, the working poor, have an actual private banker that they can work with that can help to educate them and empower them to be able to take care of their financial matters. So we're out there in the trenches and we're working with people, everyday people who just want to get the knowledge, want the help to learn more about finances and how it works and what they need to do to improve their particular situation.
That's great. I think that you bring up some really good points. So generally more affluent customers, if they go to a bank, a lot of times they'll have what's called private bankers that are dedicated just to them and helping them with their financial situation. So as a counselor, what you guys will do is provide that same service to the working poor and others in our community. I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that really differentiates Operation Hope is you guys have counselors inside of bank branches. And that's something that, as far as I know, has never been done before. So tell us about the significance of that.
Well, actually, it's a win-win situation for the banks, really, because we're in the banks and we're servicing the clients that they have, first of all, coming in anyway. They're coming in and they're asking questions and needing help with this type of information, and we're there, right there on the spot to be able to help them. Not only that, because we also work in the community, we're able to bring in clients from other, maybe they're not banked, or maybe they bank somewhere else, and we can influence them to maybe bank with those banks. But it's a win-win situation, and it's a perfect spot to deal with financial matters. So we think it's good, and actually our goal is to get 1,000 of those Hope Inside locations open by the year 2020.
That's great. And so today, where are your locations? Your locations in the bank branches?
Actually, in the city of Memphis, there are two banks that we operate out of, and that's First Tennessee Bank and SunTrust Bank. But across the country, we have locations in banks from California to New York to Florida. So we hope to spread across the whole country, but in Memphis, those are the two locations at this time.
That's great. We hope you spread across more of the Memphis area.
Definitely.
I think you guys, the work that you do is fantastic. Tell me, Memphis has a lot of issues in surrounding area with everything from poverty to education levels. Tell us about how some of your work will help resolve some of those issues.
Yeah, well, working with them, we're able to really talk with them and to counsel with them about what their particular goals are. Sometimes they come in and they have dreams and goals that they want to reach, but haven't had anybody to work with them. So to be able to empower them, if it's that maybe they're out of work and they need a job, we can give them some tools and things that they could do to get in a position to do that. Or if it's a credit matter, or if it's becoming a homeowner or owning a car. We are there to assist them through that whole process. So I think that brings back dignity for people. It empowers them. And so when you empower people, it's better for everybody.
That's great. One of the programs that I've heard a lot about, and it's just the fundamentals of it sound like it would be very effective. It's the 700 credit score communities. Can you tell us more about that program?
Yeah, well, the 700 credit score community basically is where we're working with a group of individuals to elevate their scores above 700. So they work together in groups, learning different ways and different tools that they can use to elevate their credit scores. But then they also have some time where they research, will watch webinars and work with us one-on-one so that we can make sure that they're guided in the right direction. And at the end of the program, the goal is to hopefully have these people elevated from 500, mid-500s to 700.
One of the differences with Operation Hope is it seems like it really focuses on individual accountability.
Absolutely.
Is that one of the central tenets of the program?
Absolutely. It's all about empowerment. Yes, we're going to be there to assist them, but it's going to be even better when they're done with us and they're more able to handle their matters alone. So we work with them to make sure that they're educated about what they need to do so that when they're done with the program, they can still have the knowledge that they need to carry on throughout life and be able to take care of their financial matters.
Okay. One of the other things too is how you guys measure success in your communities. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, everything that we do, we actually keep track of the numbers when we start and then when we finish. And our goal is to not finish with the client until they get to where they're supposed to be. So if you come into my program and your score is 580 and your goal is to get to 700, you don't leave me until you get to 700. And so we're tracking that not only in Memphis but across the country.
That's great. So finally, if someone's interested in that or wants to get involved, how do they reach out and contact you?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm located out of the First Tennessee Bank at Crosstown, which is at Union in Cleveland. So, of course, you can reach out to me, and my direct number is 901-722-5584. But there will also be another location at the Airways in Lamar branch of First Tennessee, which will open later on this year. And then there's a young lady, Lavita McCoo, who works out of SunTrust Brinkley Plaza.
Well, great. Thanks again for coming on. I'm really excited to see the results that you guys have in our community. I know as we've talked before the show, the greater the opportunity and engagement and employment and income levels, that lowers crime in Memphis and the surrounding areas and surrounding communities. So thanks again for coming on. I'm really excited to see what you guys will come up with next.
All right, thank you.
Thanks to our guest, and thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more shows, follow us on YouTube or Facebook at Germantown Municipal Television. You can also visit our website at www.gmtvonline.org. And remember, each person's financial situation is unique. Before making any decisions, speak to a financial professional to see if our discussions today are in your best interest. We'll see you next month. I'm Daniel Dent, and now you are in the money.